Kochie's Business Builders is proudly brought to you by our partners Dell, who are helping small businesses grow.
Coming up on Kochie's Business Builders, a vocal coach who's helping businesses make it big. The local pub looking to bring back the music, plus the entrepreneur who's bringing tech to the pool and the playing field. G'day and welcome to Kochie's Business Builders, where we look at the issues facing small business owners and come up with practical advice, tips and inspiration to help them succeed. Joining me today as co-host is Natasha McNamara. Natasha is a vocal and confidence coach with decades of experience. Every day she helps business owners, startup founders and corporate leaders learn to communicate more effectively and persuasively. Natasha, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Let me tell you, the pandemic really highlighted lots of people who can't communicate.
Yes.
What makes for a good communicator?
Well, that's such a good question, because I think the pandemic really shifted people and the way they communicated. Someone who I really like is Oprah Winfrey. And I remember seeing her in Sydney a few years ago, and I was struck by how she communicated, and she made me feel as if I was her best friend and she was talking just to me. And I think she has the ability to really endow the camera and the audience as being her best friend.
Okay.
And I think that's good. She also said that she's not in the interviewing business, she's in the connecting business, and I love that. She also used stories. She used a lot of stories about her triumphs and her tragedies, and I thought that that really built that rapport and trust.
I suppose it comes down to confidence. Presence comes down to confidence, and
Yes.
so many of us
Yes.
get nervous when we do big presentations and pitches.
Yes.
How do you suggest people sort of calm the nerves to build the confidence and then build the presence?
And the first thing is that to know that nerves are normal, that everyone gets nervous. And then the second thing is to exhale. Are you breathing or are you holding your breath? Because when you breathe, you counter the nervous system, that fight, flight, freeze response. And the other thing is you've got to rehearse. I think a lot of business people that are pitching think they'll just wing it. But you've got to rehearse. You can turn nerves into excitement rather than saying, I'm really nervous. You can say, I'm really excited. And then the other thing is to slow down. If you really want to have impact and eliminate the nerves, slow down and breathe.
Natasha, great advice there, but I'd love your thoughts on our next business, the Botany View Hotel. General Manager Luke Reimann took over this local Newtown pub just as the pandemic hit. But instead of putting aside his plans, Luke went full steam ahead to create a venue the locals would love. Now that lockdowns are over and people are feeling safer to venture out, Luke's keen to up the ante on the community vibe and get more people through the door. So, Natasha, what do you think Luke should focus on when he's trying to engage the locals?
Well, the Botany View is one of my local pubs.
Oh, so
and I
you
do
know it
go there.
firsthand.
I do. I may have been there a few times. I think the first thing I would say is a workshop on building rapport would be great for the owner and the staff. I think I've just recently run a workshop on rapport with a global organisation, and some of the things that came up were body language, being open, smiling, having good eye contact. The other thing was, breathing, pausing, and then the big thing was really listening, really being curious about people and really listening and responding.
Great suggestions.
Yeah.
Now, we also sent KBB's brand and marketing expert Samantha Dieback over to Newtown to catch up with Luke and help him hone his plans to become a business that locals will love.
So here we are. Welcome to the Botany View Hotel.
Thanks so much for having me, Luke.
No, it's an absolute pleasure.
Can we start with you telling me a little bit about the history of the pub?
Well, it's one of the oldest pubs in Newtown. It's always had a rich history in live music. Some of the better artists in Sydney have cut their teeth here over the years, and it's just been a real focal point in the community.
And you took the pub over back in 2019. What was it like then?
The pub had gone down a slightly different route to its history. It was more sports orientated, and we just wanted to really make sure that it came back to a proper institution in live music in Sydney.
There must have been something that stood out to you about this venue for you to want to take it over.
My background's always been in revamping and sort of changing the styles of pubs, and this one just stood out as one with such a rich history already in music that we could just take it even further.
You took it over in 2019, just before the pandemic. Can you tell me about some of the biggest challenges that you have faced?
Outside the obvious of having to be closed for so long and a lot of the restrictions that were put on, I think every hospitality venue will tell you that it was a real challenge getting through the legalities and the new rules that were implemented and keeping the public happy with that kind of thing. Now that we've come out the other side, I think that's still a little bit of a challenge as well. People have lost that sense of trust in going out in large groups, and live music obviously is a bit more intimate than what people normally do. So just getting people to relax and enjoy themselves again has been a bit of a challenge.
Can you tell me a little bit about the refurbishment since you took the hotel over?
We weren't splashing big amounts of cash around. We just needed to restructure the way the venue worked. There was always a temporary stage. We've now built this main stage and expanded how many acts and how big of an act we can sort of put on here.
And you've also transformed the upstairs area too.
Yeah, correct. It's a wonderful little garden oasis up there. It's a very different feel to downstairs. We do a lot of DJs into the twilight. Having cocktails in the setting sun is a pretty valuable thing, especially in the urbanised area like this. So it's nice to have a little bit of a change.
I noticed out the front that you've got a sign that says you're dog friendly too.
Certainly are. On a Sunday afternoon, you can barely get through the pub without tripping over one of our four-legged friends, but it's an intrinsic part of the community. We're so close to Sydney Park. People like to take their dog out for a walk, then have a cold one on the way home.
Coming back to challenges, when you look at right now, what would you say are 2 or the 3 biggest challenges for you?
I think the main problem for us is just getting that word back out into the community. We're really confident with what we've done with the pub, and the artists that we have here speak for themselves. It's just getting the wider community to understand what we've been doing, what we've changed, how the venue now works, and as we did most of that during the lockdown, a lot of people haven't seen that for themselves. So we just need to get the word out there of what we're doing and how we operate.
It's interesting you say that because I hear that quite a bit. So in my business, the PR Hub, we work with entrepreneurs like yourself, brands constantly challenged by how do I get the word out there. So let's go and have a chat and talk about some of those challenges.
Wonderful.
Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Now, research from MBroker reveals that 1 in 3 business owners began their business or start-up with less than $5,000. So when it comes time to scale, these businesses are often looking for extra funding. While 3/4 of business owners will get the money they need through traditional finance sources like a bank loan, credit cards or a line of credit, fast-growing startups often try to raise capital a different way. How? By pitching to venture capitalists or crowdfunding their ideas. In fact, according to Money Crashers, the average VC receives over 1,000 pitches a year for money. That's a lot of business vying for the same money. So how can your business stand out in the crowd pitch space? Natasha, you coach a lot of startup founders.
Yes.
What's the most common pitfall that you come across?
Well, the big one is too much jargon, too many statistics, death by PowerPoint, speaking too fast, too many fillers, and really no stories. It just being dry and statistical based.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what are some of your tips to improve your confidence with pitching?
Well, I think the big thing is to prepare, know who your audience is, and have a story that will relax you and build trust and empathy, and practice. I'd get a little camera and film yourself and watch it back and really look at what you're doing. Are you using too many fillers, ums and ahs, or you knows? Are you speaking too fast? Are you monotone? What do you need to work on? Are you moving too much? And really focus on one thing and build upon your skills in that way.
Thank you for that, Natasha.
Welcome.
Next up, tech expert TRACY SHEEN shares the simple way you can check if your cyber identity has been compromised.
G'day folks, TRACY SHEEN, the Digital Guide, back with another tech tip. This week we're talking about security and in particular a website called Have I Been Pawned? Or Have I Been Puned?
Depends on who you're speaking to. What this site does is if you throw your email address through it, it will tell you whether your email has been compromised. This site has been created by an Aussie guy. It's locally owned and they just keep up to date with all of these crazy cyber things that are going on. Make sure you bookmark it. It's a really handy one to know about. Have I been pawned? Have I been puned? Whatever it's called, it's a great one that you need to know about. And I'll see you back with another tech tip shortly.
Hi, I'm Rupert Muir from EUX. We're a Sydney-based digital agency, and I'm here to share 3 MailChimp email marketing tips to help you drive sales while you sleep. So my first tip is to set up abandoned cart emails. They're super important for your business because people can go to your store and then they can leave, and you would never know that they visited in the first place. If you have abandoned cart email set up, then you have the opportunity to remarket to the customers who have actually visited your store and then left without purchasing. Abandoned cart emails can be scheduled at any time in the back of MailChimp, but we have found the optimal times are 1 hour, 8 hours, and 24 hours after a customer has gone and then abandoned the cart. Welcome emails are a very powerful tool in driving sales and maintaining loyalty to your customers, because when they initially sign up to your mailing list and you send them a beautiful email saying, hey, we're offering you a 10% discount on your first order, not only does it sometimes encourage them to bump up their order value, but also it will encourage them to stay subscribed to your mailing list, so we have longevity with the customer over time. So my third tip would be to win back lapsed customers who aren't spending from your database. So you can set up an automatic trigger in the back of MailChimp to perhaps re-engage with a customer and say, hey, we've missed you. They would have a discount code, or maybe offer them some sort of incentive to come back and purchase from your store. So those are our 3 hot tips on how to get the best out of MailChimp, but head over to mailchimp.com for yourselves and have a look.
Hi, I'm Jamie Fuller. I'm chairman and co-founder of EO. In a previous life, I founded and created the Skins brand, and that's exposed me not just to the business of sport, but it also exposed me to the world of elite sport. Sport's always been a passion of mine, but particularly fascinated with the role that sport plays in society, where it's more about than just what happens on the pitch or in the pool. It's about the impact that sport has on all our lives. When I started the Skins brand, I'd never been involved in sport, I'd never been involved in textiles, and I'd never been involved in consumer brand building either. So it was a huge learning curve for me. Had some extreme highs and particularly extreme lows as well. EO was grown out of a meeting I had with a gentleman who was 24 years at the New South Wales Institute of Sport in sports science roles. Very quickly we realised that there was a fascinating fit between Dr. Graham and myself as to how we could conceive and produce and develop products, not just exclusively for the elite athletes of the world, but also for what we call the prosumer. We've got 5 devices in a series of stages for release. The first one is a swim device, which is to assist swimmers to improve their technique, to ultimately improve their performance. The second device we've got is an awesome bit of kit, and its purpose is to diagnose concussion and help people that have been concussed ascertain when their brain has recovered sufficiently to return to play. Been able to partner with some awesome people. Kyle Chalmers, world record holder, world champion, Olympic gold medalist, Olympic champion. We have a collaboration partnership with Swimming Australia. We also have partnerships with the South Sydney Rabbitohs and with Melbourne City in the A-League. The most critical advice that I can give is do something that's really different, something that's totally unique. I would strongly, strongly recommend that they wait until they can come up with something that's got an absolute point of difference and that makes them unique and that gives them that edge as opposed to just doing another copycat.
Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea Pottenger, the founder of EQ Minds, and our mission is to empower and educate you to take care of your mental health every day. These are my top 3 tips for wellness. Number 1, sleep is like the elixir of your life. The way you feel today, it started the night before. Before you go to bed, half an hour beforehand, I want you to jump off your screens. And then that is going to actually help the pineal gland in your brain stimulate enough melatonin so you stay nice and deep. It's all about that deep REM with how you feel in the morning. Tip number 2 is your gut health is everything to your mental health. Serotonin, your happy chemical, it's actually made here, inside the gut. The number 1 determined factor of having a healthy gut is diversity of plants in your diet. Dr. Rob Knight says that we need about 30 plants a week. And third is getting a really good stress management tool. Meditation is game-changing for your brain. If you're a skeptic like me, then there's so much science now that actually proves how beneficial meditation is on our brain and our body. In fact, if you just do 10 minutes of meditation a day, the science shows that our amygdala shrinks in size, which is where stress and anxiety reside in your brain. So if we do this consistently, that part of your brain gets smaller. What that means for all of us is that we become less stressed and less anxious. Take care of yourselves. We're right here at EQ Minds supporting your journey.
Welcome back to the show. Now, let's check in with KBB expert Samantha Dieback as she reveals what Luke and his team at the Botany View Hotel should do next if they want to embed the pub in the heart of the South Newtown community.
So Luke, you were telling me earlier that one of your biggest challenges is how do you actually build awareness for this amazing venue? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I think the struggle really is, outside of the amazing artists that we get through here doing a lot of promotion for us, obviously in their own self-interest as well, is just getting the community to understand exactly what we're doing in here and how relaxed and what a fun vibe it is. So what do you think is the easiest way for us to just build that awareness for the venue itself?
Yeah, great topic to go through. And, you know, we talked earlier, I obviously work in PR, I've got a business in PR, and we work with people like yourself with the challenge of how do you build awareness. So, you know, one of the things with a community vibe like this is, you know, possibly even looking at creating some short, snackable video content that you can pump out on socials. It doesn't have to be polished either. People don't need polished video content these days. It needs to be genuine. It needs to be authentic. Your team can talk about the great atmosphere that you have here, like why they like working here. Also grabbing some of your regular customers. I'm sure some of them wouldn't mind getting behind you and having a chat and showcasing what they love about this place.
Well, I think plenty of those customers would jump at the chance to be on camera. I mean, another change we've made is we've revamped our kitchen. We're really proud of the different style of food that we're doing now. And do you have any advice on just how to get the word out there on that as well?
I think that's really interesting that you raised that, because this is a pub, it's an entertainment venue, and you've got an amazing menu that people don't know about. So tapping into some well-known food bloggers, influencers, even hosting an event for those people. We did one last week for a client where we had a bit of an industry panel as well, so we made it informative and we made those food bloggers, again, want to come along, try the menu, but also feel like they were getting something out of that as well. Because if you engage the right ones and they're using their social platforms, again, another great way to do it, another form of word of mouth, it will really stick.
Building that customer loyalty, that's always a focus for a business like ours. Is there something we could be doing better there as well?
You've got membership drives and you've got the dogs, you know, the dog-friendly pub, which is great. One of the things that I've noticed about the hospitality industry in the past couple of years, having worked with some businesses in that space, is the innovation from technology and how that's really helping venues, especially post-pandemic and with staff shortages. You know, you've got the QR codes and the order and pay at the tables. Not only is the customer getting what they want, but it's also helping you as a business. And that's something that's really important for you, right? Being profitable. So they're getting a great experience and they're more likely to come back if they know that they can engage like that.
Thanks, Sam. There's some great advice in there, and obviously we've got plenty to think about.
Yeah, look, it's an amazing venue. Thank you so much for having me, and you know where to find me, so if you've ever got a question, make sure you reach out.
Thank you very much.
So, some really good tips there from Samantha, but Natasha, going back to your earlier point on the Botany, saying maybe staff could do some rapport training.
Yes.
What about Luke as the business owner? How important is his role in building that connection with community?
It's huge. I mean, in many ways, he's the host of the party. And I'd love to do some one-on-one with him where I'd really start to work on his why story. That would be a great way for him to build connection with the community, with the people around that are visiting, and to really hone in on his journey And also the history of the Botany View would be so interesting if he had some great stories. I think that would really imbue it with such great atmosphere and people would love him as a host.
Well, it's your local. We will send you there. All right.
Thank you.
All right, Natasha, good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And remember, if you're looking for small business tips or the latest news and expert advice, then you can find them online at kochiesbusinessbuilders.com.au or follow Kochie's Biz on Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta and Twitter. Well, that wraps up Kochie's Business Builders for Series 14, but we will be back in a flash. Can't wait for that with plenty more fantastic small business stories. So catch you next time.